Hello and welcome to my channel. This is my first video for this channel and my name is Lotus and I am the self-love servant. Yes, so I am here on behalf of people everywhere and also the divine. I am a highly spiritual, intuitive being who has been through so much, and through my journey of challenges and obstacles and overcoming them all, and healing through it all, I have learned that self-love is just the greatest tool and resource and gift that I've been able to access and help myself with and use in order to just maintain life, maintain my existence for real. So I have primarily a background of like professional work that dominantly includes like counseling and advising. I've never gone through a process for getting like licensed or anything in therapy or counseling, but I've been in roles, I've fulfilled roles that came with that type of work naturally, like as a manager, as an advisor for students. Yeah, so anyway, I find that after 13 plus years of professional work that called for that type of skill set, plus with my work in terms of just being a friend and a family member, I naturally do that. Like I naturally advise and like counsel and love to do that type of thing. So that's the primary way in which I serve. Like usually is by like speaking into people in a way, also listening. So this channel is for the purpose of me doing that in the area of self-love, teaching about self-love, you know, just helping in regards to self-love in every single way by pulling from what I've learned on my own journey thus far. Okay, so this first video of this channel, the Self-Love Servant, is called But First No. But first no, right? Just like how we have to do sometimes, but first coffee, but first wine, but first, you know, whatever it is you got to do. The way that I learned to start getting into a lifestyle of self-love and practices of self-love and just a way of being and living in terms of loving myself, I had to start with learning how to say no. So that's why I'm calling this first episode, But First No. And you know what? It's truly a calling for me to do this channel and to do this work. And I'm just now realizing the confirmation of it by being that the title came to me like that. And now realizing this is the first video and it's but first, right? Okay, anyway, but first no. Yes. So the first thing, if I was to sit down with somebody and, you know, be talking with them or advising them on their journey of self-love and getting into it, first thing I would start with is, where can you say no? Who can you begin with saying no to? Just pick one area, one person, just one moment, one opportunity, right? You can just start with the day and wake up wake up in the morning, right? Like, how can I implement my power and authority of saying no today? Let me plan a goal. Let me set a goal of just saying no once today for the sake of my benefit. Okay? That's what I would say. And that's how I got started. All right? That's how I got started. by saying no. I remember when I was in the middle of meeting with my favorite therapist of all time thus far. Thus far, because who says that I'm done with therapy, right? But my favorite therapist thus far, she was not my first therapist, but one of my more recent therapists, okay? And it was with her that I first began to realize just how much of my own power and authority to say no I was suppressing. And the result of that in my life, which was a lot of suffering, a lot of anger, a lot of hurt and pain, okay, a lot of just confusion on, like, I do this, I do that, I give in this way, I live, like, I live in a way to be such, to be the as good of a friend as I can be, as good of a employee as I can be, as good of a leader in the places that I lead, as good of a auntie, a sister, a daughter, and yet I'm not happy. And yet I don't feel like I'm really receiving, or at least maintaining, anything from the things that I feel like I ever do receive, right? So it's like, where is this? What's going on inside of me, right? Like, why am I not able to hold on to the things that I feel I am reaping, out of what or from what I'm sowing? Because I'm not a Christian, but I'm a highly spiritual person, and I do respect a lot of what I have learned and do learn from reading the Bible, which I have been able to find to be full of universal truths. It don't have to be particularly Christian or not. There's a lot of universal truths that I have been able to find do exist in the Bible, right? And that people can learn without even reading the Bible. Okay, so one of those things is reaping what you sow. Karma, basically, what you put out, you get back. Like, you don't have to read the Bible in order to learn that. Life will teach you that itself. And I'm one of those people who karma really typically comes back real quick, at least the bad karma. Like, if I'm doing something wrong, or even just thinking something wrong towards somebody, oh man, spirit don't let me get away with it. And I now know it's because I'm called to do this kind of work. So I can't really get away with, like, sending out negative energy to people when I'm called to be a person to help people. Even if they are bad, or ill-hearted or ill-willed, I'm still not called to be one of those people to put other people down or to talk about people. I mean, who really is called to do that for real? I don't know if that's a thing, but I know that I'm one of those who don't get away with doing those types of things. So anyway, and I'm not really experiencing karma coming back, like, especially when it's good, which that can usually take a little bit longer. I can't even lie to you, like, that usually take a longer amount of time. But let's say, like, if I feel like I'm getting bad karma, and yet I just been sowing good, like, what's going on? One of the things that I've had to learn is, like, without self-love, you're not gonna hold on to anything that actually makes you feel loved. Ooh, say that again. That was like a little download for real. Like, without self-love, you're not gonna be able to hold on to anything that really allows you to cultivate real love in your life, whether that involves other people or not. Because you're gonna have, like, this black hole, because we gotta have self-love in order to attract love outside of ourselves into ourselves. We gotta have it. It's kind of like trying to build a house without a foundation. It ain't gonna work. It's gonna be like that house that got blown away by the wind because it was just built on sand, or There's no foundation, there's no concrete, there's no type of glue, adhesives, none of that. It's gonna be blown over by the wind, by the storm when they come. So self-love is a foundation. And I tell you, I started having to learn about it because I do identify myself. I've learned that I ought to know that I ought to identify myself as an empath. I'm very empathic. So I'm an empath in a way where I will often give of myself in directions that don't give back to me. I'll feel for others who they perhaps are in need of others to feel for them, but they're not capable of feeling back for me. And so without knowing my purpose of serving and all of that, I can be giving in a situation that actually requires reciprocation, and I'm not being reciprocated, because I'm now in a situation where I'm the empath and they are the opposite, which you can safely say is a bona fide narcissist or somebody with narcissistic personality disorder. It's like those are the two opposites. Shout out to Ross Rosenberg, who I really learned a lot from through his book called The Human Magnet Syndrome. Such a really good book. If you've never read it and you are an empath, I would highly suggest that you do. It really breaks down what he refers to as the tango that empaths and narcissists do for a lot throughout life without, if there's no healing. Okay, so yes, it was reading his book that first got me into realizing, like, oh, okay, this is why I keep on dealing with narcissists or meeting narcissists, like, after being raised by a narcissist. And yeah, just so much of my own self I learned through reading The Human Magnet Syndrome by Ross Rosenberg. So check it out. So after reading his book, I read his book while in therapy with my favorite therapist ever thus far, and all that got me realizing that I was self-love, I had a self-love deficit, or I was self-love deficient, SLD. It's like a disorder. So I think he actually calls it a disorder, self-love deficient disorder, or deficiency disorder, something like that. So basically where, like, you have this huge capacity to love others, but you're continuously struggling and suffering and hurting and crying and all these different things because you're not loving yourself. That can be a huge down part to being an empath, especially if you have yet to become an empowered empath, which is a process in getting there all in its own. So that therapy, that book, really led me to first beginning to just practice more things in my life that made me feel like I was loving on me. Not that I was just loving me, but that I was loving on me. So, it's not just, telling myself, oh, of course I love myself, but doing things to show that. So going to the spa, like investing in my health, by doing things that actually made me feel good, not, things that made me feel like I was suffering, for a delayed outcome, but like things that would make me feel good in the moment, like while doing those things. So like one of those things became yoga for me, hot yoga in particular. Like when I discovered hot yoga, oh my gosh, like where the hell is this all my life? Feel so good with benefits that are delayed, but also feeling good while you're doing the yoga. Hell yeah. Going to the spa, even just by myself, just to not be, inviting any type of drama or any type of negative energy with me, even just going by myself, and carving out that time. And when I would go, I'd turn my phone off. It was like required. You couldn't have your phone on in the spot anyway. So and just really embracing those moments of silence and solitude, and just, embracing the fact that I deserve this. Like, why not? Like, I deserve this. And allowing myself to build that self-worth. So even that included saying no, right? By turning my phone off, by putting my phone on do not disturb, and not going to check it throughout my time of being there, and really just shutting everything else out and focusing on me, which, you know, it took some time for me to really settle into that. But some of the most best things I ever have done for myself to date. And so then I had to start getting, you know, even more like aggressive with it, right? Because that was just me and me, right? But then it's like I gotta start telling folks no. You know, people asking for money, you know, people who I love so much, my brother, my niece, you know, definitely just I ain't got it, or just being like, I can't do that for you right now. Like I can't. And then you know what began to happen, y'all? What began to happen? People not wanting to talk to you as much. They don't even really want to call you no more. You know, like, and then, you know, that shit started to hurt, because then it's like, damn, I really love and care about you for real. And now that I'm telling you no, I can't really hear from you for real, or, you know, it's just kind of showing me like, when you do want to connect, it's because you want something from me. You can't just be wanting to check in, wanting to connect, wanting to, you know, cultivate connection. You know, so that shit hurts. It hurts like hell. Even when I talk about it, like, that hurts, you know. And that's why it can be hard. Sometimes you just want to give in and be like, fine, you know, let me just send this little bit of whatever, cash app this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, nah, because, I mean, I've had and am experiencing, let me be real financial difficulty because of the inability to tell someone no, and to hold back from giving what I don't have to give for real, you know, just to make somebody else not dislike me, or just to make somebody else not see me in a way that I don't really want to be seen in. But at the end of the day, when it comes to self-love, what you ought to want to be seen as is yourself. You ought to be wanted seen as authentic, as honest. And that's another thing I had to begin to learn, like authenticity in terms of what I say, what I do, how you see me, became number one, really, even before saying no. But it really all had to go together, because, you know, if I want to say no, but then I'm not being authentic, right? So in the way of becoming more authentic, I really did have to start with saying no. I wrote a little note that I want to say right now. It was just kind of to help me remember what I really want to talk about for this video. So I just wrote down learning how to say no and demonstrate that I mean it via my actions, choices, decisions, behavior, boundary enforcement, emotional intelligence, and devotion to the path. And then I wrote radical devotion to the path, which means when you're challenged to get off of that path, showing radical devotion by being like, hey, I will leave your ass in the dust if you don't, you know, cease from trying to take from me what I am not willing to give. You know, radical. I will leave you in the dust and won't look back, and that'll be the end of us. Radical. For real? You would do that to me? Yeah, I will do that for me. I will do that for me, just like I've done for you. How often? How many times? You know, and you know, it's not to encourage it's not to encourage a way of getting into like bitterness and resentment. It's just that when you're doing that type of thing, self-loving and saying no to people who you usually say yes to, it will cause these eruptions, these moments of friction with folks who you probably never even experienced that type of friction with. Why? Because you just hold it all in, because you just lie and say yes when you really want to say no, you know, and then struggling in silence, knowing you can't reach out to ask for shit from these same folks because they're always in need, right? So it's not to be like you need to become like this and bitter and and resentful. It's not even that. It's just letting you know you're gonna hit those moments where you're gonna have to fight for you. You're gonna have to fight for you. And so who really likes to fight for real, for real? Like none of us, even people who like to fight, like nobody likes to have to fight. We fight because we have to, you know. I'm gonna just say that from my perspective. Like I don't like to fight, but anytime I've had to fight is because I had to, or anytime I fought is because I had to, not because I wanted to, But I guess there are people out there that like to fight. My bad. Um. So yeah, and it's not just about saying no, but it's about demonstrating it. Okay, because they'll try you. You say no, and then they come back around next week. Thinking like, oh, she ain't really mean it for real. Come back around. Expect you to change your mind, or they come back around with tears in their eyes, or they come back around with accusing you of being this and that, and mean and oh you neglecting me and or whatever, and so here you are being challenged to stand on your word, and really, at the end of the day, it's not just about, again, saying no. It's about standing up for you. Usually, people who struggle with saying no, you don't have other people standing up for you. You don't have anybody standing up for you unless if it's not, if they're not unseen. Like me, myself, I say I'm highly spiritual. I know I got a spiritual team that will whoop ass when it comes necessary. But in terms of like having those physical people, them earthly people, humans, other humans, actually taking those roles for me, on my behalf, advocating for me, defending me, fighting for me, being like, nah, you gonna leave her alone. She said no, or I'm saying no for her. That kind of energy, I don't really have that, never really had that, but I'll give that to somebody, right? Or do that for somebody. So usually those of us who are put in those positions of needing to practice this for real, like an empath, it don't come naturally, right? So it'll feel uncomfortable, and the people who you give to, they know that ain't usually you, so they'll make you feel uncomfortable on purpose, make you feel bad about yourself, all those types of things, like, oh, you different, you switching up, you changing, da 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 da. I would hope I'm changing because growth requires change. Nothing grows without looking different, okay? Like, we know that just looking at nature. We know that growth, and just looking at humans, growth happens with change. Change happens with growth. They go together like peanut butter and jelly, okay? So, I shit like a peanut and a a peanut and peanut butter. How about that? like wheat and bread. How about that? Like fruit and jelly. How about that, right? So anyway, can't they can't knock you for changing because change requires growth, and you would just hope that they would do the same thing. So I'm just saying that to say, you got to demonstrate it with your actions. You got to let them know you for real. One of the ways that I have messed up in that so many times is letting my emotions, take over and lead me out of, away from what it was that I initially said. So I've had that type of struggle mainly when it comes to dealing with guys and being in relationships, right? Like telling somebody, like, this is what, this is what I don't want, this is what I want, da 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 da. And then who knows, because the weather's different, because because the time of the month is different, all types of different factors, because I'm human, right? All types of different factors plus spiritual warfare. All types of different factors can come into play where I'm approached with the same type of request, maybe a different type of energy, maybe more aggressive, maybe more forceful, more stubborn, and then I give in to something that I initially said no to. And so this is why I say radical devotion, radical, making people uncomfortable if that's what the hell you gotta do. And I'm gonna tell you, making people feel anything other than good is not one of the things that I have ever liked to do. I promise you on that. I never have liked to knowingly make people feel, or even shit, unknowingly make people feel uncomfortable, sad, hurt, guilty, even if they did something wrong, or even if whatever went wrong is their fault. Like, I have never liked to be the one to know that I'm contributing to them feeling anything that I would not want to feel. And so, radical devotion means, A, I'm not responsible for their feelings. I'm not responsible for the outcome on their end, but I do need to make sure that I demonstrate responsibility for myself, and my own feelings and my own actions, primarily my own choices, decisions, and behaviors. And I said emotional intelligence, and I think that was like, I kind of talked about that a bit when I talked about like somebody coming back around with the same request but just a different kind of energy, and then allowing my emotions to be affected so that then I um I change my mind. Right, and basically, honor their request, even if I still felt like I didn't really want to do that. So, emotional intelligence is keeping control of those emotions, right? And well, emotional intelligence entails of so much more than beyond this, but this is a part of emotional intelligence. Like, you have to have emotional intelligence in order to be able to do this, which is allowing those emotions to basically remain how can I put it? Like, they belong to you, but they're not you. Yeah, like, they belong to you, they're not you. Right? So you possess them. You are not them. Right? So basically saying like, okay, I feel this way. This person's emotional approach, aggressive approach, forceful approach, manipulative approach, and then whatever kind of way they're bringing it is making me feel like this. But head over heart, my mind is made up, and I'm still gonna do this or still not gonna do that. Basically enslaving those emotions for real. This has been huge for me because as an empath, I am highly sensitive. I am a highly sensitive person. So again, I don't like to affect people in ways that I don't want to be affected. I don't like to make people feel in ways that I don't like to feel, even when I have to. Like, whenever I've had to, like, if I've had to, like, tell somebody off, I'll eventually later, like, feel bad about it because it's like, damn, all these other thoughts will come to mind, well, what if they just didn't know no better? What if da 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 da? And, it can really do a number on my inside. But, we got to acknowledge trauma for what it is and its power that it can have if we do not reclaim our power over it. Sorry for the background noise, y'all. But yeah, like, trauma has a lot of power. Oh my gosh. And I'm learning how to overpower the power of my trauma. So yes, one of those ways hugely is emotional intelligence, like not letting your emotions run you, because you are the authority of your emotions, period. And if you need help from spirit in order to realize that and enact that, ain't no problem in asking for that. Ain't no problem. Ain't no shame and no problem. Listen. So this isn't gonna be a long video. My goal is to have these videos not be as long as other videos of mine have been on my other channel or other things that I've done. So I just wanted to say, like, yes, in terms of getting on that self-love path and in that self-love lane, most definitely, initially you're starting with just saying no, just practicing saying no. Um, Shit, if you gotta if you gotta start with yourself. Listen, nope, I'm not eating that. Nope, I'm not going there. Nope, I'm not watching that. I'm not staying up. I need to go to sleep. Like disciplining, yourself. Perhaps first just with yourself and then with others. Okay, it'll change your life. It'll change your life for real. And you know what? If those people then who you are saying no to, if they then start basically ghosting you, going quiet on you, going silent on you, coming back at you with negative energy, you know exactly where they stood the whole time. You know exactly their true colors. And yes, the shit will hurt. It will hurt. It will hurt so bad. But guess what? It's just necessary pain for you to learn and understand. Everybody ain't like you. Everybody ain't like you. Probably most people ain't like you. And, you know, they said it in the Bible. A prophet will not be honored in his own hometown, by his own family, by his own place of origin. She will not be. You usually have to move away from where you started. Just like growing up, we're going to grow up from childhood. Okay, we're going to move on from hometown. You know what I mean? It's all about progression in every way: financial, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, every way. So ain't no shame in that. Ain't no shame in that at all. And if you feel called, feel pulled to change things up around you and within you, by practicing more self-love, I encourage you to just starting by practicing saying no. Start by practicing saying no and ready yourself for the backlash, because you will get it, and it is okay. It's part of the journey, and all that shit ain't gonna do nothing but help to make you stronger. It's going to turn you into that diamond that you know that you already are on the inside, to where eventually you're gonna show to be like that on the outside, and everybody gonna know they can't touch you for real. We know we can't touch gems and crystals and rubies and high priced treasure. You can't get to it too easily, right? Like you either ain't got enough money, the shit's like locked up in the store, like you gotta request the manager to come and unlock the display case, all that. It's like it's locked up. It's not just readily available for anybody to touch. Okay, so eventually you practice being authentic and loving yourself and putting yourself first, and eventually that diamond of you on the inside is going to show on the outside, and more people will learn they can't touch you, they can't approach you, and yeah, you might just be out of his or her league. Okay, and that's fine. Or you might just be in a place of, oh, I probably, where you have them thinking, I probably want to think twice about approaching, like a real high status celebrity type of thing. Ain't nobody just rushing no high status celebrity being like, give me that. You supposed to be like that when you walking around with such a good heart. You ain't supposed to be so readily available to everybody like that. That's how I feel. So start saying no. Practice. Maybe give yourself one thing a day to say no to. It gets easier because you start to realize the benefits that come for yourself, and then eventually you get to give of you in the way that you want to give, and not in a way where you feel like you're having to give in ways that you're not even able to. So I'm gonna leave it here. This is my first video. I hope you enjoyed it. But first, say no. Or what is it? But first, no. And I will be posting 2 more videos today. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.